Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you a really cool puzzle where it is white to move and win. Take a second, look at this puzzle, look at the position, see if you can find the main idea here for white, and hopefully you can see all the way to the end and all the cool variations within that. So if you want to pause the video, now is the best time. Take a second, see if you can figure it out. While you're thinking about that, let me quickly encourage you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Half of the income that I earn in this channel goes directly to charity, so every like, every subscriber, it helps us out so much. Okay, let's get started here. So, one thing to notice right off the bat is that this king is a little trapped, right? These pawns are going up the board, so look at the power of the pawns here, really blocking off this king. So in a perfect world, you'd say, I'll just move my king and I'll promote my pawn, and that'll be checkmate, right? Yeah, that would be in a perfect world. Unfortunately, we do not live in a perfect world, and you can't just do that. Here's why. If you make this move, king e7, immediately black can go in for this, and you just stalemated your opponent. And if you're thinking maybe I run away, it's the same exact thing. Eventually, you have to take it. If not, you're going to lose the game, right? If you go with this, then you're in trouble because black has a queen, you have a rook. So the ideal solution of just moving your king to the side fails to this queen move. Now you might say, okay, I won't go here because that allows this check. What if I go here? Is it different? It's not that different. You could still do this. And if they promote, what do? You take it. This is still stalemate, right? So don't go in for that. Maybe you're thinking, okay, what if I first move the rook to c8 and then I'll do it this way. I'll move the king away and that'll go that way. Good idea. Let's look at what happens. If you play rook c8, really cool move here, queen f6. Why is this cool? Kind of because you just blocked in the king if you're black. And now you might think as white you can do this d4 move, which looks like kind of a zugzwang move, to make black move in some way. You know, if they move away, then you get to take the square. Well, unfortunately, they can play queen d8, and you have to take it, and this is stalemate. Kind of a weird looking stalemate, if you ask me. I like it. These three columns of pieces. Okay, so the few obvious moves fail right away. These three. What about some non-obvious moves? So what do I mean by that? So instead of making one move that just looks good, like this king move, let's make a move that generates a threat. And if we make a pawn move, it doesn't seem like it does anything because they can just take this pawn. You know, there's no threat being generated. This leads us to the first move. Here's the last chance to pause if you don't want to see the first move. The first move is rook g1. Okay, what is the threat here? Hopefully it's obvious that we are threatening rook g8 checkmate. Awesome. So if they go in for this queen f6, like the other variation showed, it doesn't matter because this pawn, remember, is supporting, and so is this king. So what does black do? How can they prevent checkmate? Well, this is kind of where the puzzle really begins, because if they take here, you know, all these squares, you just play rook g8 mate. What's the solution to black's problem here? So black's best defense, it's kind of an amazing defense, is to play queen g3, queen g2, queen g4. Which one is it? Does it matter? Well, we'll talk about that. Queen g2 is the chosen line in the puzzle. Okay, what's the point? If you take this straight away, you just stalemated your opponent, and they're using this trick again. So you don't want to stalemate them. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Maybe now is your chance to move this king and promote this pawn. Does that work? What do you think? Try to pause the video, see if you can figure it out. So if you play king e7 or king e8, they're very similar, you get hit with queen e4 right away, and now this rook is acting against you, because when this king goes, queen e7, very important, it's on e7 and not e8, so they can't promote with check. And what happens? Let me go back. Queen e7, you have to run away. And if you do this, you're actually going to be losing the game. Like queen f7. Yeah, don't go to f6 or else you get mated. f7, and now this queen is just going to mop up these pawns. So what's the story I'm telling here? The story is that you cannot move this king in this position, because if you do, it'll lead to these checks, and eventually you have to take it. It's going to be stalemate, and you got nothing out of that great move, rook g1. So what is the move? Well, it seems like you need to kind of waste a move. Well, you have this pawn here. What's wrong with wasting a move? You just waste a move. d3. Okay, does that work? Surprisingly, the answer is no. Now, why not? Well, the line that I really like, well, I'll just show the main one. Queen takes g1. The idea now is to move this king and promote, just like before. That's the only idea that white has. If you go for that and play something like king e8 or king e7, and you want to push this pawn next, look at what happens. Queen e3, check. The king has to move. It doesn't want to go back, because then it'll be lost right back in the position it was, and you want to push this pawn. So you move this way. Well, now this queen has sight of b6. It's a very important detail. Keep that in mind later. Okay, and now what? Now it's just a draw. You got to repeat. There's not really an option. You want to run farther in this direction. You got to be really careful, because if you go too far, you're going to lose this game, because that is a fork. Ouch. Okay, so what did we just determine? We determined that you cannot play d3 as a waiting move. Okay, so what is the move? What about d4? Is that any different? The answer, very critically, is yes. And this is what motivated this whole video. This is such a cool detail. You play d4. It feels like you're giving up 2 tempi in one move. Why would I want to do that? That doesn't make any sense. Well, now, if queen takes rook, you can play king e8, and after this check and you move, they cannot see b6 anymore. Isn't that cool? This pawn is in the way. So this trivial detail, seemingly trivial detail, is actually a consequential detail. So that's pretty awesome. In this case, it's mate in 5. The queen has nothing to do. The queen's going to move. Queen g1, promote, this, king e7, king e8, either way, you're not stalemating anybody, right? Cool. Okay. So let's go back. So they played d4. Now, what is black's best defense? They're not going to just take this rook now, because they, of course, foresaw that it doesn't work out the same way. This is where it gets so fun. They play queen g3. They're backing up, saying, okay, you lost your move. You lost your tempo. Now what are you going to do? And this is where the puzzles just get so, I love these puzzles, so amazing. You play rook g2. It's this little game of chicken. If they take you, you know how it's going to go, hopefully. And if not, let me show you quickly again. You can move. They can try to check you, either here, let me use some coordinates, either on e2 or on e4. It's not going to matter. They check you here, you just move out of the way. And now what? How are you going to stop me? You want to do something like this? It's not anything. This is not stalemate. Okay, so they can't take your rook. Do you have any guess on what you think they'll do next? I think about, they just went back, we went forward. Well, what's stopping that from happening again? They go back to queen g4. Again, it's a game of chicken. If they go anywhere else, just to be sure, if they go any other place, you just mate them. That's why they're staying on the g file. Now, what do you do in this position? Do you go back to g1? Do you go forward to g3? Do you do something else? Well, what if you went backwards? What happens then? Then they would go back to g2, and now you're out of moves. It's like a triangulation kind of thing, only you're on the wrong side of it. So you can't go back to g1, you'd lose the game. Because, of course, or not lose the game, sorry, you draw the game. If you take this, it's stalemate. Same exact idea as before. So you don't go backwards, instead you go forward. And now let me ask you this. What if they go back again? This is not the line anymore. The line does not go this way. But what if they do? Well, now you just take them. Why? Because it's not stalemate. They have to take. This is their only legal move. And then you have a little race. H6, G4, king goes somewhere, and you promote to a rook or something because you want to be funny. Okay. So they can't back up anymore. So what is the move? Well, now the puzzle's kind of over. They take you. Great. You move out of the way, and finally, they can't check you here because of this pawn. If they check you here, just like I mentioned before, they don't have access to this square. So the best defense here, queen, let's just go, what's the line of the puzzle? I want to make sure I get it right. The line of the puzzle is queen e7, but very critically, you have to take with the pawn, and then this is mate. That's the line of the puzzle. There are a lot of ways to do it at the end because the black is lost. But it's super, super cool. So I really love this puzzle. Just really quickly, one more time. Blocking, they block, you make this awesome move of d4. There's this little game of chicken, forward, backward, and it leads to this very nice mate where the queen has to give herself up on e7, and it goes all the way to mate. I love it. If you loved it, be sure to like and subscribe, all that great stuff I mentioned in the beginning. Thank you so much for your support. That is all for now. Bye.